In this video, we are going to look at 3 topics. First, Aaliyah Chavez has decided what school she is going to. Yes, she is taking her talents to Norman, Oklahoma. We will talk about the implications for Oklahoma and who missed out. Second, we will talk about Azzi Fudd. She has announced on her Instagram that yes, she is indeed returning to UConn in 25-26. We'll take a look at the UConn roster and what they currently have and what they might need. And then we will finish off with JuJu Watkins. Of course, it was going to happen. It was always going to happen. The blame game. I will give what I am sure will be a very unpopular view on her injury and the cause of it. As clearly, people need to be held accountable for this injury, and we will dig into it. Before we start, if you enjoy the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. All right, let's get into this. So on ESPN Instagram, Aaliyah Chavez went on and announced that she is going to go to Oklahoma. Now, if you are not aware, she's the #1 recruit. She's a guard, 6'1". She can shoot, handle the ball. From a young age, she's been drilled by her dad, who's personal trained her, and she's a basketball prodigy, if you like. I've done a more detailed video on her that sort of gives some background. At the time, Kim Mulkey was reportedly not interested anymore because they were demanding too much for NIL, and Kim Mulkey thought it best to spend NIL resources to bring 4 players in, that being Grace Knox, Divine Borage, Zakiya Johnson, and Isabella Hines. And for a while, I thought that Chavez would likely go to Texas just due to their NIL resources. When I did a chat the other day, somebody mentioned she recently went to OU and sort of said it would be a bit cruel her just recently visiting OU and declining to go there. And that makes sense as well. Rory Harmon has an extra year. She has another eligibility. I assume she's going to return to Texas. So Texas has a talented backcourt, obviously, with Harmon and Booker. But not only that, if you think about it, OU is really a good fit for Chavez, as she likes to run and gun.
You know, they have great coaches, coaches that I've been talking to since I was in 8th grade, and just a great playing style. They match how I want to play. I want to play fast, and that's why I chose it.
I think Jenny Baranchek's offense will suit her well. There was a survey a few years ago where coaches were asking about the best offenses, and Baranchek rated quite highly by the rest of the coaches, and you can see it. That's one of the reasons this UConn-OU game will be fun to watch, as Oklahoma and OU run really good motion offenses. I think it's going to be fun watching them try to put up points on each other. It could be a high-scoring affair. Now, after this season, Oklahoma is going to lose Skylar Vann and Liz Scott, but they return their 3 leading scorers, that being Peyton Verhulst. She got an extra year of eligibility, as she only played 8 games as a sophomore when she transferred from Louisville to Oklahoma. Obviously, Regan Beers has another year, and then Sarah Williams will be a junior next year. The question is, who will transfer out, if anybody will transfer out? But at this stage, with Chavez, they will have 12 people on the roster if everybody returns, so they might get an extra 2 players via the portal, or even more players. It just depends on who's leaving and who's staying. Modern basketball, you gotta love it. Now, the other big news of the day is Azzi Fudd is staying at UConn for another year, so she will be at UConn in 25-26 and then presumably enter the WNBA draft. Overall, I think this is a smart decision for Azzi. Hopefully, it allows her to demonstrate she can be healthy over a full year and be the lead alpha or dominant player on a team. I still recall about 3 years ago, after they played Texas at UConn, doing a video that Azzi Fudd is on her way to being a star, and then everything changed when they played Notre Dame. Aaliyah Edwards was pushed back into her knee and hyperextended it, and it's just been a roller coaster up and down ever since then. I think everyone would agree this is the best Azzi Fudd has looked this year since she's been at UConn. She's still very up and down. It can be streaky. The thing that's been impressive about her game is she doesn't seem to get put off if she's not making baskets. She'll attack the basket. She's being more aggressive on defense. When Gina was talking about her in a press conference, she was saying she'll give you about 20 minutes at practice where she's magic. Everything that comes out of her hand is perfect, and then she sort of loses it, and you just try to keep her in that zone. And overall, I think that's what UConn's big goal for Azzi Fudd and for Azzi Fudd herself next year, just more consistency, less up and down games, and just really try to drive UConn with her and obviously Sarah Strong. They will be your two pillar players. The question is, who will be that third wheel, that third player they depend on? Maybe Ashlyn Shade. Currently, as the roster sits, they have 14 players if nobody transfers out or no medical retirements or anything like that. That would be Azzi Fudd. Well, these are the guards. Azzi Fudd, KK Arnold, Caroline Ducharme, Ashlyn Shade, Caden Samuels, Ali Zabel, and Khalees Fisher, who's coming in as a freshman. Then their wings are Morgan Shelley and Blanca Quiones. Their fours or power forwards would be Ice Brady, Yana Patterson, and Sarah Strong. And then the posts would be Jana El Alfie and then Gandhi Malou Mamel, who's also a freshman. She's originally from Ireland and very, very raw. At least she was when I did this video on her a few years ago. Now, in one of my other videos, I talked about how UConn's interested in bringing in Sarah Williams from Wisconsin as their coach. Resigned. I don't know if that's code for being forced to resign because they were going to be fired. Somebody mentioned in the chat that the coach has connections to UConn. I don't know if that's true or not. They said that they'd formerly been an assistant at UConn. Don't know about that. There will be a lot of interest in Sarah Williams, but it seems like UConn would like to get more depth at the forward position because Ice Brady, it'll be a big year for her, sort of a make or break year as well. Patterson has never been healthy. Obviously, you have Sarah Strong, which I'm sure helps Gino sleep easier at night, but who is El Alfie going to break through and really develop? Like in some of the press conferences, Gino wants more from her and talks about at times how she and Sarah Strong work really well together. I think everybody has in their minds when El Alfie played in the under 19s and had nice moves. The other one is versus South Carolina. That was by far her best game, I would say, in a UConn uniform. Disagree with me down below, but that was a big-time game, and she took Fagan off the dribble, and you're like, who is this player? We haven't seen her all year, so that'll be interesting. In terms of the third player stepping up, so they're hoping probably it's El Alfie. Will Caroline Ducharme be healthy? Are they going to go down that path? Will Morgan Shelley break through? Again, a bit nervous about Shelley because she's had so many injuries over the last few years. And I guess the point I'm making is a big piece is returning to UConn, which UConn has to be excited about, and that's something you can build around, obviously, Azzi Fudd and Sarah Strong, but they still have a lot of questions and filling in the pieces of the puzzles in terms of what players will develop and who they will bring in. Finally, let's finish with JuJu Watkins. I was watching another channel and somebody was talking about how somebody needs to get to Lindsay Gottlieb and give her advice on managing JuJu Watkins. As the style of play, she allows JuJu to play in the extended minutes and allowing her to play in garbage time have put her, or basically put her at risk for this injury and essentially why she got this injury. That was the insinuation. Not to blame JuJu. That's what players do. They want to play, and basically Lindsay Gottlieb needs to control JuJu better and rein her in. And by the way, on that point, the other night I mentioned Gino needed to get Paige out sooner. That was really tongue-in-cheek. I was really joking. In another video, I made a joke. When all the UConn starters were on the bench, UConn Nation was happy because they could be relieved. And basically that's because of the past injuries. And that's the thing with knee injuries. ACL injuries happen. People want to blame people for it. Like when UConn had their run, it was, oh, the trainer, she's doing a bad job. I did a video just saying, what are y'all talking about? This is ridiculous. And I got a lot of negative comments on that video because people don't like it. But the truth is, ACL injuries happen in women's basketball. If there was a magic fix, these teams would do it, would implement it, but there's not. Basically, athletic players, females have more elasticity and flexibility, which puts their ligaments at more risk. I could do a long, boring video on it, but nobody's going to listen to me. But that is the case. If they really want to get serious about helping the female athletes with their ACL susceptibility to those injuries, they need to do long longitudinal studies trying to see if there's any correlation to any of the injuries. Some have speculated maybe it's related to the menstrual cycle and when that comes on that leads to increased flexibility at that time and maybe susceptibility, Would going on birth control help reduce the risk? And I'm sure I'm going to hear about it in the comments. What are you saying? But I say to you, it makes more sense what I'm saying. Get documented evidence, study it versus saying, oh, her ankle, her left ankle, she had a sprained left ankle. That's why she did her right ACL. One does not necessarily correlate to the other. Or, oh, UConn's had 3 ACL injuries in the last 3 years. That means that they're doing something wrong in terms of their training. Notre Dame, I believe, one year had 5 ACL injuries the year they won their championship. ACL injuries happen in women's basketball. It's much like Tommy John surgery happens in baseball. Overall, everybody is just really pissed off that JuJu Watkins got injured. So you saw it during the game. Fans were booing the player that sort of slightly bumped into her. Rational people are like, what are you talking about? There was nothing dirty in that. But still, people want to blame somebody, so why not? Go after the coach. It's the coach's fault. Gottlieb has mistrained JuJu Watkins, and the way that team plays has caused this injury. And overall, it is just a load of bollocks. All right. Thanks for watching. Your comments, your poison, it's all welcome. Have a great night.